Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all the things to do with the market. That is all of the markets that we think are relevant. Sometimes it's crypto, sometimes it's NFT, sometimes it is the stock market, sometimes it's the metals market. Things are chilling out here a little bit. A bit of tension around the world, of course, and markets appear to be a little bit frozen. Today we'll talk about Bitcoin dropping to 65K before, a little bounce. Stocks are a touchdown as well. Obviously, a lot of tension with the Iran situation happening at the moment. Blue Owl halts withdrawals, sparking fears of private credit bubble. I'll talk through just some of the basics of what's happening, of what you need to know what's going on there. I think that's an important moment in the private credit space. And finally, on the AI side, Google Labs introduces Photoshoot, allowing you to take a single image of your product and create a high quality photo shoot. There was against the backdrop of a couple of interesting launches from Google in the last few days. So we'll dive in there to understand how you can level up best, if at all, if that is the best way to go about it. Brett will take us through that today. We've also got the latest on price action, as always, in general market thoughts. I've got Legendary and Brett in the co-host seats with me today. We are ready to get into it. Just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is very, very risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please always proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, it's Friday. It's the 20th of February. And I would like to know, Brad, how you are doing.
Hey, buddy. I'm doing well. Nothing special to report for the squad. We know we're I think the outside of like trying to fight off these overwhelming feelings of somberness, like I like like not for me, not for me, for the market, just like I am very excited about what I'm doing. I'm very excited about our industry. I'm very excited about like the current state of things because I'm not hyper fixated on the chart. So because I can see beyond that into all this potential, all the fun, all the whatever. But it's in a social setting. It's very hard to, which is what all of this is: crypto, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, regardless of where I'm at. I get a lot of the people who are anxious. I get a lot of the people who are everything, and they're just like, I try to bring balance to the force, I guess is what I try to say.
I love it. I love that thinking. I think everyone's getting very reflective. I think it's a great, again, you just notice yourself, everyone's getting very reflective. I was talking to Ledge before the show, before you joined, Brad, and one of the things to think about, like when you are getting a bit somber here, and by the way, the market doing this affects everyone, even though we have approached this quite well, even though we've been broadly managing the decline pretty well, given our risk profile from the summer onwards, it still affects us. It's still like the business side of things is still incredibly hit. But I was just talking with Ledge before, Brad, and we were saying, I was thinking, okay, take Dubai, for example. Loads and loads of people leave in the summer. What do businesses do? Like, they're all, all these businesses that operate on tourism, for example. Say you're on a coastal city in Britain, and usually for a couple of months in the summer, and in England, it's 8 times out of 10, the weather will still screw you in the summer. How do these businesses exist, operate, survive, thrive? But they find a way, clearly. They clearly find a way. And so, I don't know, we were just talking beforehand, thinking about some of these other scenarios where, okay, guys, I get it. The market is down and therefore it's going to affect everyone's business. But it happens in the real world too. It's not just, some businesses are seasonal. And I started to think, to what extent even the show is seasonal. I know we go all the time, but there is a seasonal aspect to it. What do you think about that? Because I've already chatted to Ledge about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's incredibly accurate. I think the thing that's different with us is the with a seasonal.
Like, should we just be skiing now or something? Should we just go?
Well, it's just like I think a lot of people who are objective about
come
this.
back, and I need to get the door for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say like for like the ambition of our industry is not to be seasonal. So like for us, there's still the shock value, even though I think are practical about this stuff, and we say, hey, this is humans. This is how this works. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. This happens everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you get in the throes of this stuff, you go, like, man, maybe this time it's different. And like, now it's up only forever. And like, now we don't have to do the bear market anymore. And like, well, surprise, MFers, bear market's back. And now we got to do bear market things. So like, there's the loss of that for people in the industry, I would say.
But let me tell you, because B was so charming and so diplomatic in how he worded that on the show. Let me tell you the wording that B used before the show when we were reflecting, and he brought up this idea of how seasonal we are. He asked the question, are we... Say it again.
And he's scared.
He's scared. He asked the question, are we, at the end of the day, is our show nothing else than just essentially a wrapper for a token like a shitcoin? Are we just a meme coin trading, going up and down with the market?
Is my existence a shitter?
Exactly.
Yeah. Some existential shit.
Kinda.
I mean, in a way, we're just wrapped to the market, right? We get the most outrageous offers during the bull market. Well, that was our experience last year. Wait, we're 2026. Yeah, 2025, top of the year, most outrageous offers. You know, we took we didn't take the crazy shitcoin ones, but you know, we still benefited from the proper ones, which were definitely really good back then. And then things can just flip on a dime. Before that, it was tough. It feels like you're obviously going into a harder market now where we're way better placed. We've got long-term partners in different ways. We've got investments. We've got longer-term strategic partners too. But the market is flipped completely. So I don't know. What do you think of that analogy, Brad?
I mean, it's not too far off. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I always describe to the people around me, and like, much to their chagrin, it's like, for my life, basically everything exists in like a 4 to 8 window, like out of 10, like everything. It's just like, I don't get especially high or low on anything in my entire life. So, and this is for everything. Like, I have people come in like, oh my God, dude, did you try the shrimp pasta? Blah, 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 blah. It changes your life. Whoa, man. And I'm like, I'll try. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
That's a pretty good thing. And then they'll be like, dude, this burger is dog shit. If you go there, you'll want to kill your mother. And I'll try, like, yeah, you know, it's actually pretty good. It's like a 5. Like, I would eat that again. And it's just like,
when you were actually over in Vienna and we had dinner together, that was you being excited about dinner. You actually did like it.
Oh, cool.
Let me change my
I literally, like, it's like a combination of like, what, like, at least in the food subject, I don't have a very refined palate, but just like generally in life, man, it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just like, almost everything's like, yeah, it's all right, it's pretty good. Yeah, there's, you know, like, well, life tomorrow will come. I like, that was actually the thing that I did for, like, as we were heading into Yeat mainnet, right? Because like, things are chaotic, things are all over the place, people are stressing and doing whatever. I'm like, guys, you know what's gonna happen tomorrow? Or, you know, like, I know we're doing all this stuff. You know what's gonna happen on Monday? Tuesday's gonna come, and then Wednesday's gonna come, and then Thursday's gonna come. And it's just like, no matter what happens in any end, like, bro, even dude, if USDCD pegs today and like goes to 0, right? Our industry is pretty fucked in that instance. And you know what's gonna happen? Tomorrow's gonna come, and then the next day's gonna come, and we'll figure it out. Like, we will find the next thing to do that is like the best thing for us in that instance. And like, dude, we'll figure it out, and life will go on. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to get too knocked in any direction.
I think that's really. Oh, I think some of us coming through slower than other people. It's a little bit of crossover. I was just going to say, I think I completely agree, and I think that is the point, right? And that also to not beat yourself up too much. That, okay, maybe you didn't make as much as you would have liked to in this bull market, and now it's going to go into a more difficult time. As you said, Brad, that is okay. That happens. It's not only in crypto where these wild swings of opportunity even come. There are businesses that are built in with these very, very seasonal moves. We were talking. I was talking to people in the UK just the other day and said it's rained so much. It's rained so much recently that they're talking about how on the farms that there's certain crops that are like it's wiping certain things out. or they think that the crop this year is going to be terrible. And I think, I don't know, the more tech we get, the more empowered we feel, and therefore we feel less accepting of when things are out of your control, when actually there's so much out of our control all the time. And even if we've got Claude, and even if you've got three AI agents running, doing different things, it doesn't mean that it all can't get wiped from under you. And even if it does, that you'll still be fine. But I think with this increase of tech and power that you feel that you have, it becomes harder to accept. And actually, maybe to your point, it's like accepting it is part of the thing. Just accept it. It's going to be okay. Ledge, you wanna close off here, or should we get into it?
Yeah, I'll just throw a quote out that I like, which is "Today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday," by Dale Carnegie. That's what I have to say on it.
Okay, there we go. So we're not going to be, and today's prices are the prices you worried about yesterday, I think. Talking of prices, let's get into the price action, which is not really doing a great deal, to be perfectly honest. We have Bitcoin at 67.5K. We have ETH more or less flat around, just under 2K as well. Got XRP flat around $1.40. BNB's flat around 609. Sol's up a few percent to $83. And we have Hyperliquid up a few percent at $29. Talking of more on the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up 1% to not a lot. It's just 9 cents really. Pump is up 4%, still around 2 bill FTV. Pepe's flat. Bonk is up 1%. Pengu's up 1%. Not a lot to write home about here, guys, to be honest. Tibber is up 14%. The BAN token, which is that banana one, is also up 14%. It's up 50% in the week. I do not know what's going on there. There are definite little signs of things kind of pushing a bit harder and more aggressively. I'll talk about another one in a second as it relates to that. Talking of the headlines that we're going to get into today, we're going to talk the major assets as usual. We'll talk Blue Owl halting withdrawals, sparking fears of a private credit bubble. Obviously a little bit from outside our industry, but important to get a headline from there. And we'll talk on the AI side, Google Labs introducing Photoshoot, as well as a music tool, which Brad will share his thoughts on as well in terms of the headlines. Some other notable price action. Aztec was up 94% in 24 hours to 370 mil FTV. Punch token was up 215% to 30 mil FTV. This one, Enzo is up 50% to 190 mil FTV. I think there's a lot of tokens that have been completely trounced, and you're just not going to be able to short them for free. We've spoken about the dangers of shorting these low float, high FTV tokens. It's just a very dangerous game. You can do it. Maybe if you're going to do it, you do it on a spike up, like a day like today. But even then, you just don't know. You could have got liquidated shorting Monad, for example, or at some point on the way down because it kept spiking up randomly. So got to be careful with that. But there does seem to be some big moves up as well. Some other news from around the space. CME Group to launch 24/7 crypto futures and options trading in May. The DBA fund announces $68 million raise for their second fund to deploy into crypto. I think that is notable. Obviously, we spoke about the Dragonfly raise, almost 10x that size. It's obviously a smaller fund, but clearly there is still some appetite for crypto exposure for people who manage the money well. Interestingly, we reported on this yesterday. A federal judge in Tennessee blocks the state attempts to enforce state betting laws against Kalshi. It does look like there is a federal move to prevent states from preventing the sports gambling aspect of the prediction markets. There are members of the prediction markets involved in the new CFTC, investment committee, innovation committee, or something like that. And you obviously have the president himself and his media company exploring prediction markets as well. So looks like they're going to get a free pass here, even if states don't want it, which actually, I don't know how that works. I thought states would be able to fight back around that, but let's see. Aptos proposes a hard cap and reduction in staking rules in the latest article. It's interesting to see an evolution there. People trying to take some steps to fix tokenomics. Trade XYZ announces Korean equities on chain. I posted something in the Telegram chat earlier, some outrageous stock performance in, I think it was Hong Kong over the last month. Absolutely insane performance in Korea and Hong Kong and that region. USDAI announced the season 2 of Points, prioritizing looping strategies. And finally, unfortunately, we're going to hear more of these things like this than we have so far. Analytics platform Parsec closes down its operations. My understanding was people really liked it. I didn't use it myself, but I know people really liked the analytics that they provided. They thought it was a good product, but tough market. That's the hallmark of a bear market. We will see more teams fold, I think, in the end, which is unfortunate, but is part of the process. So that is the roundup, guys, to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know from the last 24 hours. Before we get into the main headlines today, let's go to Legendary first. What is catching your attention, if anything, from the snapshot or elsewhere that you think we need to know about?
Yeah, there's two things. One is on the snapshot, one is not. Let me start with the snapshot piece first, which is the one to do with USDAI, which is basically turning GPU compute into productive stablecoin yields. Spoke about that on the show quite a while, as I was at least farming this a bit more intensely for season 1. And as you said, season 2 is back. Some of the interesting things to note there is that they're on track to do $1.5 billion worth of GPU-backed loans in 2026. And for season 2, they're following a bit of a gamified. I feel like Brett would like this approach because it's so Pendle related. So basically, they want to have some sort of catch-up mechanism going on where you have a level up score. And this level up score depends on how many of your Pendle yield tokens you are locking. And we've already seen that in season 1 that they used a couple mechanisms that allow you to have looping strategies, to have many multipliers going on depending on where you were farming, and they did support that officially on the dashboard. So I thought it's just quite interesting that you have protocols who are basically not really wanting to engage with what's going on Pendle, and how you basically can either use Pendle, which is a DeFi platform, to express your bet that you're more bullish on the token, and you just want to have a multiplier on these tokens, whichever they are, which you're farming, or you just want to have yield, and you basically are able to trade token multipliers, potential future tokens for yield with other persons. And USDI is heavily leaning into it. They're like, yeah, that's the mechanism. This is how you loop. This is how you can catch up. This is what we're doing. So I think it's, on the one hand, it's super complex because it's not easy to understand if you haven't used Pendle before. But on the other hand, I quite like it that you're like natively leading into that.
Very interesting. Interesting stuff. Do you think, Legendary, do you think this is still an opportunity for people to participate in? I know you're, when you're already involved and you've done season 1, you're probably more incentivized to think, okay, well, let's just do season 2 anyway. There are certain times when that even that might not be the case, when people are really extending the seasons and locking up your capital even longer. But what do you think? Are you like full-blooded, still committed to this in season 2? You think it will be valuable? Or do you think for someone who hasn't been interested at all, or hasn't managed to get exposure, do you think it's worth trying to get in now?
Probably just because of the timeline that's going on, that February 18th to 25th has this ICO and airdrop offer window. It's too complex to get into it. Basically, they have 2 tracks going on depending on how you want to get your tokens, and there's like a discount track, there's a premium track, there's different lockup periods. So, and then you have the CoinList ICO already Feb 22nd to 27th. Well, on CoinList, I think I would not want to get in right now if I hadn't any exposure. But I think if you had some exposure, it might be a good time to check in which of these paths and tracks you like most to increase your alignment, how they word it, and level up on the point side of things. On the valuation side, I'm feeling a bit conflicted. So they have this 300 with the $300 million, the 300, I'm sorry, FTV in one of the tracks. And I feel like for what it is and what it could be, 300 mil feels so cheap, but I also know how bad the market is doing at the moment, that then I know that a $300 million valuation is actually a lot. So I'm curious to see how it does. I wouldn't say that's one to speculate on right now if you haven't had any exposure. But I'm this weird conflict that 300 mil doesn't feel like a lot for what it is, but acknowledging the sentiment. And ultimately, if you look at fear and greed index for crypto, we had extreme fear at 12, then 300 mil is a lot again. So I'm a bit torn. So probably if I hadn't season 1 exposure, I wouldn't start trying to get some more exposure now.
I think that's fair. I think that's pretty responsible, fair thinking in this kind of market. Good product. People are excited about it. If you've missed the boat, maybe you just miss it and you go on to the next thing. I think that's reasonable. Brad, what are you excited about? What's catching your attention from the snapshot or elsewhere?
I will do the same one on, one off. So you mentioned the Aptos token thing. I just think it's like data point. Let's call it out. Like it's people are starting to look at more ways to differentiate themselves. And I would like to take a little bit of credit for these KPI / like performance-based modifications to tokenomics that are actually taking place. I called out, like someone was just like, I think, oh, that's who it was. There's a tweet several days ago from the founder of DeFi Llama, OXNGMI. He's like, bro, these time-based unlocks, these things just aren't good. So I was like, yeah, someone should come up with a method that allows people to like do it based on performance of the ecosystem aligned with the community and the whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like basically what we're doing. So it's like, it'll probably become a meta. And then 3 days later, the Aptos thing comes out. So I had it on there. Like, you know, obviously we think we're pretty proud of what we came up with for the mega TGE stuff, TG and KPI, but it's cool to see that others are doing it. I read through it. It's not a 1-to-1 for sure with what we're doing because they just have different mechanics that are required as an L1, but it is still interesting and just something I want us to note. Other thing, did you guys talk about Vitalik pushing back on Conway?
We did not. So we spoke about Conway, but not the Vitalik part.
Yeah, Vitalik commented on Conway and said, bro,
just
we
just
need to
update what Conway is again for people.
Yeah, so if you didn't listen to the show, Conway is the recent like AGI is what people are trying to call it. It's pretty scammy, frankly. It's pretty sloppy. It's these guys that created this construction, we'll say, of an AI agent that is supposed to self-replicate and self-edit its code and like build itself up and try to survive and make money. If you don't make money, you can't buy compute. If you can't do that, then you can't survive. So it's like this self-perpetuating AI agent thing. What they don't tell you on the surface is that everything is routed through their Conway system. So therefore, like as more people do this and more people are replicated, it pumps through a Conway infrastructure layer that makes them look cool. Anyways, that's their thing. They caught the talk of the town last few days. Vitalik replied to it the other day. It's basically just like, dudes, you got to realize how like what we are careening towards with AI. And he basically said, what you're doing at its core is you are reducing the feedback loop between human and AI. You're setting up all these instances to where the moments of interacting with a human and implementing something are lengthened, right? So it's like, oh, you go and you set this thing up and it just runs for a few days doing this self-replication shit and it's standing on its own doing whatever. It's like we're careening towards an outcome where we need to make sure that we stay hands-on with this stuff and we are pushing it in the directions that we think is appropriate, not letting it do its own free-flowing outcomes. So in that, with that world, like we need to be aware that this is a bad outcome for us if we constantly are letting it just like go run its own thing, do its own thing, and setting up these rails and accelerating getting to the end point of basically just AGI and letting this stuff die. So he was just very outspoken about that and said like we need to build crypto specifically for humans to set humans free, not to do this AI futuristic self-replication shit, which is going to come, but we should not accelerate it before we have like full control over it.
I've liked Vitalik's general stances recently. I think it's good when maybe he's always been off the fence, but I feel like he's more off the fence now than ever, coming out and just saying what his specific opinionated view is for not just the future of Ethereum, but also this other stuff too. So I like it. Glad you brought that up because we did talk about it. but we missed the Vitalik part. So that is good context.
Well, it was recent. It came after.
Still, it's got to be on top of it. We're on top of it. We're on top of it all. Ledge, you wanted to bring up one other thing, and then I wanted to talk about Euphoria for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's a bit of a short story to tell, and I think, Brett, you might like that. So what I've recently been struggling with is actually finding an app where I can track my food, log my macros, do all of the things that I'm doing now as I'm on my low carby diet. And I wanted to have something that allows for both. Like, I can track it, I can upload pictures when I'm going out, but I also want to have some sort of AI agentic connection to it, because I want to send a picture to my OpenClaw and want my bot to be able to log that because it has an MCP. Turns out there's only one single app that really has a native MCP, and it's by a guy who's working at a vibe coding, one of the big vibe coding companies, and he built that for himself, and it's great. And the thing that I did not expect to happen from that, and which is actually helping, like, with all the accountability of tracking, it made it so fun. Like, when I now upload a picture to my OpenClaw bot, she's commenting on the stuff that I eat. Like, I had steak tartare this morning, and she goes like, "Oh, that looks good. Who needs cereals in the morning when you can just do raw beef?" And just the fact that you get the comments back when you log the food, and she always has something to say on that, makes it so entertaining. And this is, I feel like, where I start to see the big difference between models which are natively multimodal, like now Sonnet 4.6 coming from Anthropicus, which neither Opus nor Sonnet 4.5 were, and models who don't have that multimodal capability and they need to call tools, etc., to see what's on your picture. That is starting to make such a big difference. And I just now love this new interaction. And once more, it kind of pushes me in this like line of thought that I want to have apps that have some sort of agentic capability, MCPs. And I do think that this is going to become more and more important as like the proliferation of personal agents, AI companion, whatever is going on.
Yeah, that's I haven't got to that point of like spinning up the personal apps beyond like one or two things. I did some like stupid stuff for board games and whatnot, but yeah, I deliberately am trying to tone down the personality of all of the agents I'm working with, because like I don't want to get too attached. I don't want to like whatever. Like, let's just keep it platonic. Like, just do this shit. All right. Thanks, Chrome. Let's see you tomorrow. Go to sleep.
I like it. I'm in that boat. I wouldn't even give it a name. I'll go with a number, agent number 1. So they know that there's going to be an agent number 2 as well. Just, you know, they can't let them get too comfortable with these agents. They'll start asking for agent rights soon, agent working hours. There'll be an agent union, you know.
Yeah, I'm in the opposite camp. I apologized to Claude yesterday. I tried to do something with Claude, and Claude couldn't figure it out. And I lost my patience a bit. I was like, just write me a handle for Codex, because you clearly don't understand what my fucking point is. It was a bit explicit. And Claude only said done and pasted the link. I was like, sorry, maybe I was taking a bit too far. Sorry for that.
That is hilarious. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, definitely got to be polite to them, I think, ultimately, these new overlords. Final thing before we get into two final things before we get into the main headlines, actually, which we'll get to in a second. Just wanted to share that we do have some Euphoria codes to give away, and Led, you got this up on the screen. Like, if you're unfamiliar, Euphoria, we had Nathan, founder of Euphoria, on the show on Monday. It's been I think a very big success so far. We've had a lot of people asking for codes, and they've got this competition running at the moment. It's this game where you're kind of trying to predict where the price is going to go, and you're tapping the screen. It's called tap trading. It seems like it's had a lot of success so far in their kind of testing phase, and they'll go live on chain in a little bit of time still. But if you want to test it out, we're going to, I'm just letting you guys know, we're going to probably go directly to our Telegram chat first. Those are the people who are have been with us longest, and who are going to prioritize when we get these types of things, whether it's this giveaway, whether it's other types of giveaways where we get special access for things, it will go to the Telegram chat first. If we have any spare, we will come back on Monday and share them out. But again, if you want to join the Telegram chat, you can send a DM to the Modern Market account, and we'll get you up to speed with the information. For disclosure, it is a small one-off fee to join the Telegram account now. But let us know if you want to. We've got some codes to give away. We'll do that over the weekend. Final point before we get into the main stuff. Today's show, we're delighted to say, we're sponsored by Yeat, the crypto casino that's done more than $1.5 billion of volume in less than a year, founded by Mando, KBM, and poker player. Need to get rid of that alliteration. Ben Lam. A reminder to only gamble for fun and what you are comfortable with. And to help, we are giving out $500 each week randomly to players active under the Modern Market affiliate link, which is in the comments. Legendary is going to put it there. So do check Yeat out. They've got a number of crypto themed games, and their sports book is running as well now. So stay tuned for the giveaway at the end of today's show. Like to end the week with a Yeat giveaway to get those $500 into one of your hands at the end of today's show. So stay tuned for that. Let's get into the main stuff though. Before we get there, Ledge, what do we need to know? The general assets are kind of not doing a huge amount here. What do we need to know from around the market?
Yeah, absolutely. There are quite some material things which have happened. Starting with the Polymarket for the Fed decision in March. There's been some commentary from the Fed that they don't see any urgency right now to cut rates, and that has immediately reflected in the Polymarket, where we are now seeing a 93% chance that there's going to be no change in March. That is the one thing which we have seen in the market. And as a result of that, and as a result of everything else that I'm going to get into as well, we've also seen one of the strongest weeks actually in a good amount of time for the dollar. The dollar is up almost 1% over this week. In the Dixie, which I'm showing on screen, Dixie being this index that is benchmarking the dollar against a basket of other fiat currencies. And Dixie is now up 1%, almost at 98. Especially the dollar is also up against the euro, improved there a lot. Looking at the stock side of things, looking at the precious metals, one of the things is that gold is now up again, up 1%. Silver is up more impressively, is up 3.5%. That puts silver above $80. That puts gold above 5K again. The stock market per se is a bit mixed. So we are down on the S&P 500, couple base points yesterday. However, the market opening for today, if you look at the pre-markets, is also not in the green. It's basically down just 15 bips across the Dow, the S&P 500 futures, and the Nasdaq at the same time. Whereas European markets, whereas European markets are doing good and Asian markets are on the decline as well. We have a couple things going on that are basically leading to this picture which we're seeing in the market. And I do think that the Blue Owl news, which we're also going to get into, is explaining some of the market's fear that we are seeing. And then the other things are still continuing to be a thing, namely that software as a service, the SaaS sell-off, but also the anxiety around the market when it comes to a potential US strike on Iran, where we still, if you look at this market for where is it, on Polymarket, 300 mil plus in this market. And specifically the one, is there going to be a strike by March 15th, is now up to 50%. And I think the more important thing is we can see how volatile it is. It did go down 2 days ago as low as 30%, was at 50% before, and now it's up again. So basically there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty what's going to happen. We did cover reports on the show yesterday coming from CNN, from BBC, saying that insiders familiar with the matter, familiar with the White House or Donald Trump's thinking it, are saying that he's thinking a lot what to do, potential moves even this weekend or later in the month. So all of this uncertainty is putting some pressure on the market, and ultimately is also reflecting in the volatility which we're seeing in crypto assets as well, as you perfectly said, BJ, in the intro, BTC did go as low as 65K before we ultimately did recover and now trading at 67.5.
Okay, good stuff. What's the chances? Do you know you know the Polymarket that I'd like to see on the Iran thing? And by the way, very conscious that it's kind of morbid to talk about the Polymarkets for attacks on nations. We already discussed that in depth yesterday. But the thing that I would find interesting is attack on, like, after markets on Friday, deal announced Sunday. I saw that as one particular thing, but even as I say that out loud, I'm kind of wondering, this is just, I think anyway, this is not a Venezuela situation. I'm pretty sure the market completely brushed off Venezuela in the end. It was like a tiny, tiny blip, completely non-recognizable. It's the business as usual, you know, whereas I don't think Iran will be the same and the consequences will be the same. So yeah, something to keep an eye on.
On that note, talking about other Polymarkets, did you see this one, the Nothing Ever Happens edition? So basically, I'm showing this on screen. The way it works is the market is called Nothing Ever Happens February, and you can bet that nothing happens, currently at 69 cents. And if something happens, you're losing your money. And something is the US winning most medals in the Winter Olympics, Starmer being out, Insurrection Act invoked, US striking Iran, Israel striking Iran, Khamenei out as supreme leader of Iran, US-Iran nuclear deal, Russia-Ukraine ceasefire, or Bitcoin going under 40K. So you can bet against the bundle of things that could be.
That's a parlay.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have a ton of volume. It only has 40K.
What an interesting.
But I think it's an interesting market. And there's also like the yearly one.
What do you think, Brett?
I think you get shit odds for such a deep parlay.
Like, that's what I was going to say.
Why would you want to enter into this in either direction for a potential payoff of, what is it, 50%? So double up whenever you have to get so much right. That does not stack with me.
I feel like this one's more interesting.
Yeah, because if you were to go and actually.
I think we have a bit of a lag.
Go on, Ledge.
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly say, I think the Nothing Ever Happens 2026, the yearly edition, is a bit more interesting because this is essentially a coin flip and you have more stuff in there. Trump out as president, but also stuff like a 9.0 or above earthquake, volcano eruptions, Russia invading a NATO country. So there's like more different dimensions of things. And if you think you have some sort of, I don't know, more specific insights into earthquake risk models or whatever, then you could bet on that. And if you bet in favor of something, other things could carry you, like Jeffrey Epstein still being alive is one of the things in there as well.
I request that someone do the math because I'm assuming all of these other things are separate markets. So what they should do, because like I imagine the incremental wins for any of these individual markets could be arbed against the total win of this total market, right? And like that's like the thing that you're doing here, the multiplier you're trying to do. That's what parlays have, right? And I know parlays, especially in the Polymarket or like Polymarket, the prediction market industry, is really tough because I had a team that was trying to do it and like they're telling me about all the problems. It's really hard because you have a lot of correlation issues and people can basically destroy the order books. But I would be curious to see the actual odds across all of those markets and then stack that up against the Nothing Ever Happens market and seeing if it actually adds up to the cumulative win of the current Nothing Ever Happens, because there's probably an arb opportunity there. And I would just take the under on basically all this shit. Dude, if one invalidates, you win the market. Yeah, do that.
Very interesting. You could also look, say you wanted to bet against any of these things happening here, and then you go and find the individual thing and say, yes, I do bet that Xi Jinping will be out in the separate bet, you know? So interesting. Let's see. Okay. Good call out there. Let's get into the next two headlines to get you up to speed with those. This is more on the macro side, on the private credit side, which has been, I think, concerning people just a little bit. This is the news that Blue Owl Capital permanently shut off quarterly redemptions from a retail-focused private credit fund, reversing a previous plan to resume withdrawals this quarter. To return cash to investors, they did sell $1.4 billion in loans from 3 funds to North American pension and insurance investors. Quick primer here is that private credit, just so you understand what it is basically lending that happens outside of the traditional banking system. Instead of a company going to a bank for a loan, it borrows directly from an investment fund. And these loans typically offer higher yields than public bonds because they're less liquid and harder to trade. And for years, this was an institutional-only space. And this is what's getting people worried. For years, it was an institutional-only space with pension funds, endowments, and insurers, people who don't necessarily need to liquidate really soon, right? However, in recent years, firms like Blue Owl, Apollo, and Blackstone have been aggressively packaging these strategies up into semi-liquid fund products aimed at retail and wealth management channels. People who might foreseeably think, I need to get out of these, even though technically they're not as liquid as some other things. So the reason why this is important is that this private credit market has actually become pretty big. According to Bloomberg, it's a $1.8 trillion market now. And there's been this huge recent push to push these strategies onto retail investors. Arguably they've been pitched that it's kind of institutional grade credit when maybe it's starting to look like it might not be. And in this specific one, the Blue Owls Tech Income Fund saw redemption requests drop over 15% in January. And it sounds like because of the illiquid nature compared to other more liquid things, it's not able to process the redemption requests if the requests are going to jump that fast. That's the issue here. That's why they've had to stop redemptions. So this is what the situation is. Very prominent economist Mohammed Al-Arian publicly asked whether this is the canary in the coal mine moment for private credit, drawing comparisons to early 2027. I think people want to consider if the contagion here is bigger. Is it only Blue Owl that would have these issues? Is it Apollo? Is it Blackstone as well? To note, and maybe to put some of your fears aside, they have sold a bunch of the loans at 99.7 cents on the dollar, which is pretty good. Shows that there is actually demand for the loans. So that does indicate that it should be okay. Obviously, people get a bit worried when you hear that redemptions are stopped, people can't get hold of their money. It kind of creates a bank run scenario. So I think, look, I cannot tell you that I'm an expert on private credit, but it sounds like if they're able to sell the debt at 99, almost 100% on the dollar, it looks like it is okay. But you want to be cautious of these things, right? I do think retail is continuously being used as exit liquidity in a variety of ways from markets that just don't have any more capacity or buying capacity left. You see that in, you see that across the market now. People talk about democratizing investing. They spin it as a positive, but I think to some degree, sometimes it is because there's no capital left, or they've tried everyone else already and they can't get any more capital. So they might as well democratize it and go to the bottom person. And the reality is a lot of the times when democratizing investing is that the best stuff goes to the best people, and there's no space for the general public in those scenarios. People should be very, very aware of that. You're not in SpaceX from the private round. You're not in Anthropic. You're not in, no one offered you that. So you've always got to ask yourself why you're being offered something at the allegedly institutional level when the institutions have already said no to it. So I think it's just always good to be mindful of that. It's nice to feel like a prominent investor when people ask you to invest and you get to put your money down, you get to say you're an angel investor. But just from experience, I think you got to check that emotion, I think, sometimes. So that's my view. Curious for your take, guys. What's your perspective here, if any? Is it something you'd want to worry about, something you don't know enough about? I think it's something to be cautious of and keep an eye on, but nothing more than that.
I think it's something to be cautious of, but I also think there's this beautiful chart that is showing you how the market was or has been well aware of what is going on here. what we're looking at is, on the one hand, this darker blue-ish chart, which is the S&P 500 from March 2025 to February 2026, like slowly going up as OWL has been selling off until this discrepancy was S&P 500 being up 14% and OWL being down 44%. So the market has seen the risk with that, at least the stock market, and has aggressively been selling off the share.
And for me, it's just a good data point. Like, I'm with you. I'm not obviously an expert on private credit and like all the intricacies of this stuff. As we wade into macro things, a lot of this just becomes the case. All I'll say is I'll like a lot of the structural stuff you just described, the smell of that is very similar to other instances in the past where things have been nicely bundled up and pushed over to retail as like the next, as you said, next, because like the desire for growth of a company never stops, right? So if you saturate a market, you go, okay, how do we still hit 20% growth next quarter? Oh, well, we should create another new product and try to ship it over here and sell it to these people and do this thing, continue to get sales, whatever. And because they have a desire for like bro, maybe the appropriate market is just saturated and you should just chill and you should just own your market and you should go, but they continue to want more to grow, capitalism, all this stuff. And that's wherever they maybe bleed over into things that don't make sense and are inappropriate for what they're actually doing, or they construct things that are not in line with whatever. So I see that and I'm like, it reminds me of the housing issues that we saw in the past. It's like they just start bundling stuff up and they start shipping it out to increase sales, and it's not necessarily truthful, the best thing that you want, and therefore one peg goes out on the bottom and it starts affecting everything that was structurally built on top of it.
I couldn't agree with that assessment more. First, from the way that you just described it, on the side of like the smell of it, you don't like seeing bad stuff packaged up and then maybe presented as better than it is. Even just hearing that is not ideal, right? And then on the second part, which I agree with, is, well, maybe you didn't make that point, but is again similar vibes. And actually, we're very, very attuned to this in crypto, right? If there's smoke coming out of the people that are holding your money, get your money, get your money out, because why should you be the person stuck, believing in the people when if it's so good, why not take it out and put it back in after? Like, there's too many examples at the moment, not only in crypto, although we're very attuned to it here, but also, I mean, this happened in Silverbank recently, right? With the bank run that happened there. Was it Silverbank? Silvergate? I don't know. Silver something. The Silverbank. It happened there very recently. Why should you be the person that when smoke signs come up, and of course the CEO of the company and various people who have economic ties to it are telling you, no, it's fine, don't worry about it, it will be okay. And then 3 weeks later, oops, sorry guys, it wasn't okay. Like, it happens way too much. You shouldn't be the person that pays for it. When you see the smoke signs, personally, if I see it in crypto, you get your money out. I took my money out of FTX back when that happened in FTX. I'd left some of the FTT token that I couldn't even be bothered to move out, which was a small amount. I let that in there, left those for the liquidators, but I thought I couldn't be bothered to move that. But I think you got to take agency in those situations. So agree with Brad there in a big way. Brad, last 7 minutes, let's get to your headline here on the agent. Well, not just the agent side, on the AI side. Google shipping hard here. What do we need to know? What's interesting to you here?
Yeah, 2 products in a comment. The headline is Google reveals Photoshop and Lyria to supercharge AI content generation. So there's 2 products. The first one is Photoshoot. Photoshoot lets you basically start from a singular image of a product. So in the example of the graphic here on screen, if you guys aren't seeing it, they take a picture of like a woman's makeup. I don't even know what the hell you would call it, but it's a woman's makeup item. Yeah, I don't do it enough. And then it instantly starts generating images of like models using it, right? So there's several that you can actually like product shoots effectively. So it creates, yeah, there you go. This is the scene right there. We'll call it blush. And it creates a single image of product and entirely creates high quality customized product shots to elevate your marketing. And then there's Lyria. Lyria is a similar equivalent, but it's on the music side. So the Lyria 3, it's their new music generation model in Gemini that lets you turn any idea, photo, or video into a high fidelity track with custom graphics and lyrics. So as they just said there, it's text, images, and video or videos, and they have set templates you can use. And they are showcasing here on screen entire songs generated on singular instance moments in your life, right? Like, hey, give me a call back. You spin up a rap song about like having Steve call you back, or hey, you're late for the mornings. You need to send a memo into work. Probably don't do this, but that would be pretty funny. Create an entire track, a country song about you being late for work, why you're late, the red lights, whatever, send it in, and it's custom and attuned to you. So pretty good, pretty interesting. The commentary on it that was cited was from Oek Toon, though, and he is citing that, AI is abundance. And whenever you see stuff like this, yes, production costs go to zero. You are effectively outsourcing or causing issues for a lot of people because now like models aren't needed because you can generate product shots of models using your item and it's basically one-to-one. But the problem is CapEx for all of these companies to generate these models and continuously compete with one another does continue to go up. So spend continues to go up while these models are expensive. And I guess even whenever they come down in cost, they will still continue to run up pricing. So CapEx is going up for everyone, but production production isn't necessarily going up with it, and you're losing a lot of money getting flowed to humans, right? So like it's just money going to these a few people running the hardware that allows you to actually generate the images for these models, and then that constantly being erased to the bottom for everyone. So I agree with it, but I also I don't know. I feel like we'll find an equilibrium. I'm not too worried about this whole CapEx run that he is citing. But models are cool, and we're continuously starting to see like the next evolution of this stuff. And there is worries of what happens to the humans, which I think is a legitimate one. Like people are going to have to be okay, not working, frankly. I even saw a video from who was it, Matthew McConaughey yesterday in a room full of actors, and he's like, guys, it's coming. And he's like, they're going to replace us. You got to defend your likeness, and then the industry's probably going to evolve into having best AI actor, like an entirely made up human that is now replacing you, and like they're the star of the film, and they have a new category for defining this stuff. They don't know where it's going, but it will materially impact the working industry across the board. But I feel like it will work out. We gotta figure out what it's gonna look like though.
Really, really interesting. Appreciate the rundown. The reason why I included this take is I did think it was interesting. I can see how in some ways they're spending more, and maybe this is all just an argument for why it's going to be the biggest people who can finance these free products the most, because ultimately, yes, they're spending more, but the product ends up being free. That's an issue in any business, right? Like you can see the issue there. However, Google has all these network effects where they're obviously making money in all other ways as well. And who knows, maybe some of these things evolve into the new version, ironically. Maybe it evolves into the paid product that is just the 20% of the cost of what you would have traditionally paid. For example, I was double clicking on. I was thinking through Chamath. I know, very, very prominent investor, very successful, has often split opinions on, how he's made the money, but his new company is called 8090. It's actually a really amazing concept. And this started to make me think of that. The concept of 8090 is that you're going to get 80% of the product. Say, for example, you use, I'm just giving random examples. I don't know if this is the exact stuff his company's tackling. Say you're using Adobe, and like these professional editing softwares can be, they're not going to impoverish you, but they're not cheap either because they're pro grade things. So his company, they say, you tell us what you need, we'll give you 80% in terms of capability of what you're currently paying, the products you're currently using at 90% discount. And so I guess the idea is that maybe sometimes these things, maybe in the future don't have to be free. People would be willing to pay, and it just depends how much less you need it to be, right? Because even if you get rid of your workforce or some of your workforce, and you have some people that, well, you're going to be leveraging the tech more, there's still a cost to the tech. And then maybe to have a slightly incremental, better version of the tech, you're willing to pay a little bit more as well. And so maybe there's a little bit of that going on, where the free tools will end up not being as good as the paid, which is kind of just as a point about the world, rather than, maybe a broad observation. In general, things you get for free are not as good, especially when it comes to products. So I'll just bear that in mind as well as we move forward. Brad, do you want to come back on those various ideas before we go to Ledge?
Yeah, like the idea is interesting. I broadly believe that a lot of the middleware SaaS stuff is like going to get absolutely decimated because of this, right? Because like you can spin up your own in-house everything at this point with vibe coding. That power is only going to increase for any small to moderately sized company, right? If you need a customer management system, if you need a time tracking thing, like all this shit could just be spun up basically instantly and pretty well. So like he's effectively offering like the next tier of that as a service or as a line. I am somewhat skeptical of that, because bro, you can only cover so many industries and so many tools. Like how am I going to expect a vibe coded group of 10 people to maintain 75 different software packages and for all of them to be decent? Like it's just like for 90% cost reduction. Like I don't see necessarily a great outcome for that, but he's effectively being that that department that would spin up your own internal app, but he's doing it as like a consulting service, and but which that jives.
Okay, Ledge, you want to give us your take before we get into our Yeat giveaway for the weekend?
Yes, of course. I think the
you're on mute.
No.
He sounds good. You guys are just so delayed.
Yeah, some sort of delay going on. Sorry for that. Yeah. So I think that the pricing, if you think about it, is exactly the pricing gap that we're seeing for the AI subscriptions. Look at ChatGPT. You get 80% of the stuff for $20. If you want it all and want maximum usage, you pay 10 times that. You pay $200. You have the same with Gemini. You get Pro for 20, Ultra for 200. Anthropic is the only one who has some sort of middle ground pricing. You get like the Claude Max $100 or $90, whatever tier that is. But the Max one is also like the Max is also 200. So you have this 10x in between. So you get a ton of the features and stuff for 20. But if you want it all, then the last 20%, they're going to charge you 10 times that. And for some people, it is well worth it. Now, the other implication of this, like stuff becoming free and cheaper and whatever, is that it's basically adding to the discussion that we had. It makes me not want to invest in smaller AI projects. Like specifically think about Lyria 3 now, and you had Suno, and Suno does 200 mil a year in revenue for creating music as an AI. They raised it 2.45 billion, had 100 million users in 2 years, and 11 Labs has music generation as well, similar numbers. Google has now the same thing. Yes, their generation is only 30 seconds, and Suno and others can do longer songs, but Google will catch up to that for sure. But they have billions of people who they hit and reach with their distribution. So that is the thing that you're competing against. And Google, at the point where they are right now, and by the way, they also released Gemini 3.1 Pro, which is now competing with 4.6 from Opus, and Codex is 5.3. They don't need to buy your $2 billion startup out, because they probably are now cheap. It's cheap and fast for them to just accelerate their own AI and add these capabilities to the stack that they have, than just starting to buy startups that do one thing, one aspect, music generation, photo generation. They can add all of that way faster to the suite of features. So for that reason, I would have a very hard time investing in this like very niche AI companies, startups, where the big models have a very realistic pathway to catch up to that and do the same, just with 10 times more distribution, literally.
I think that's very fair. It's very fair. Some of these big funding rounds for niche ideas can just very easily get swept up into the Claude. I mean, even Anthropic announced some integration with Microsoft with PowerPoint yesterday. They announced a different integration the other day. Like, there's just constantly shipping, which maybe before could have been some niche product building some specific thing. So it's so generalized that it can be good at all of these things. So really, really incredible stuff. Agree with your takeaway there. Look, that is the close of the show for today. Let's get into our Yeat giveaway. We want to get $500 into the hands of one of our Yeat participants. What do we need to know here? How are we doing this week's giveaway?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get money to the people. Looking at the Yeat board, we have Funky 25K in volume back in the top spot. 2-5 spot, 5K volume, almost 5K volume for Atari God as well. Have seen, 40K almost in volume this week. And as per usual, we did apply some volume weighting to see who will win the $500 this week. Prepared the wheel of names here. So let's spin it. Let's find out who is taking home $500 for the weekend. And this is gonna be fun. Ooh, that was a close call. This is gonna be Funky. Again, is Funky back to back? I think.
Back to back, I think. Back to back, I think. That was almost Atari God, right?
Yeah, it was a very, very, very close call here. Also, just a reminder, if you want to participate, affiliate link is in the comments. We'll put it in the uploads as well. And also the reminder to keep to only play games on Yeat with the amount of money that you're obviously comfortable playing with and betting with.
Absolutely. So we'll get that $500 over to you, Funky. Congrats on the win. If you want to participate, as Legendary said, you can do so at the link below. We hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And we'll be back and we'll be seeing you on Monday. So have a good one. We'll be back same time, same place on Monday. See you then. Bye-bye.